This is Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Gitu Ewart. It's Friday, January 10th. This is Africa 54. The U.S.-Africa Command orders an investigation into the al-Shabaab attack in Kenya this week that killed 3 Americans. At the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, startups from around the world, including Senegal, are given a chance to shine. And in entertainment news, we'll have Zimbabwe's 2019 Hit of the Year by Winky D and Gemma Griffiths. A new report released by the United Nations Human Rights Office on Friday reveals a disturbing situation ongoing in Central Africa. The document says that killings, rapes, and other barbaric violence committed by an ethnic armed group in northeastern Democratic Republic of Congo against a rival group may amount to crimes against humanity and possibly even genocide. The attacks in Ituri province have mostly targeted Hema herders who have long been in conflict with Landu farmers over grazing rights and political representation. Landu armed groups have carried out systematic and widespread attacks on the Hema in an effort to clear them from what they deem to be their ancestral lands. The report says the barbarity that characterizes these attacks, including the beheading of women and children with machetes, the dismemberment and removal of body parts of the victims as trophies of war, reflects the desire of the attackers to inflict lasting trauma to the Hema communities while forcing them to flee and not return to their villages. Angolan billionaire and former first daughter Isabel dos Santos decried a December 31st court order to freeze her vast assets, saying the country's government is working to weaken her father's influence and distract from economic failures. Her supporters see an inspirational entrepreneur, while detractors say she embodies the kind of nepotism and corruption that has hamstrung the continent. Since President João Lourenço succeeded dos Santos' father, José Eduardo, in 2017, after a nearly 4-decade grip on power, he has cracked down on the role of his predecessor's children in state enterprises. He fired dos Santos from her job chairing the oil farm Senegal and her brother from the Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Well, the allegations are false. Unfortunately, we were not given the opportunity to present our evidence or to defend ourselves. We were not aware of any such proceedings. We were not summoned. We never received any notices. I've never received a summons. My directors never received any summons or notices. So these proceedings were very much held in secrecy. We don't know exactly what are the accusations, but from what we've heard so far, we can say that the allegations are false allegations.
Now, in the latest step of what Angolan authorities say is one of Africa's most successful anti-corruption drives, dos Santos' assets were frozen on New Year's Eve, threatening to turn a titan of African business into a pariah. Now, 2 top U.S. generals are in Kenya to investigate the al-Shabaab attack this week that killed 3 Americans. Army General Stephen Townsend, head of the U.S.-Africa Command, says he wants the dispatched generals to assess the situation and hear from troops to make sure they have the tools needed to accomplish their mission. 3 U.S. Department of Defense personnel, including 1 soldier, were killed last Sunday when al-Shabaab fighters assaulted the Manda Bay airfield, which is used by Kenyan and U.S. counterterrorism forces. The attack was repelled by Kenyan and U.S. troops after using small arms fire for nearly an hour, according to an AFRICOM official. The defense forces say that 5 attackers were also killed. Now for more insight on the Kenya attack investigation, VOA intelligence and national security correspondent Jeff Seldin joins me live via phone from the Pentagon. Jeff, what more can you tell us about this probe?
Well, the AFRICOM commander, U.S. Army General Stephen Townsend, has sent the delegation, as you mentioned, to the base at Manda Bay, Kenya, to try to get what he called the ground truth, to hear directly from the troops and make sure, according to his words, that they have what they need to accomplish their mission. This comes after already an East Africa response force of about 50 to 100 troops was sent there to Manda Bay on Sunday to reinforce the base following the attack by al-Shabaab. Now, this isn't the first time there have been concerns about security and protocol with U.S. forces in Africa. Remember, it was back in 2017 in Niger when a special forces mission was on patrol and was attacked by a group linked to the Islamic State terror group, and that resulted in the death of 4 Nigerian soldiers and 4 American soldiers, which resulted in a 6-month probe. So here, there's another situation. This time, the terror group is al-Shabaab that has managed to launch this major attack, and of course, U.S. military officials, especially those with U.S.-Africa Command, very concerned that the security perhaps is not what it needs to be and trying to figure out what they need to do differently to protect their forces against an attack.
Jeff, maybe just what you said, we've seen more attacks in Kenya, attempted attacks by al-Shabaab, and also in Somalia just in the last few weeks of this year. And one wonders, is there some sort of problem with intelligence sharing between Kenyan officials, Somali officials, and the U.S.? What are U.S. officials saying about this?
Well, what intelligence officials and counterterrorism officials tell me is that Africa as a whole, and Somalia in particular, has become a growing concern when it comes to jihadist Salafist groups like al-Shabaab, like Islamic State affiliates in the area. And it seems that despite efforts by the U.S. and countries in the region to crack down on these groups, to take out their leadership with drone strikes and other operations, that they've been very resilient, and perhaps no group has been as resilient as al-Shabaab. Remember, it was only several years ago that there was talk that al-Shabaab was going to break up, that a faction was going to defect, join Islamic State, and al-Shabaab was able to put down multiple rebellions within the organization and has emerged stronger. And that's just part of and it just fits in, according to counterterrorism officials, into this growing threat picture across Africa, where groups like al-Shabaab are able to assert their dominance more and more, operate with impunity more and more, especially basing their operations out of areas where the governments in question simply are not able to exercise the same level of control that perhaps they'd like.
Jeff, keep watching this for us. We'll get some more updates as the days go by. Jeff, thank you. And VOA's intelligence and national security correspondent, Jeff Seldin, there for us from the Pentagon. Now, officials in Malawi are growing increasingly concerned by the fall armyworm's threats to its food sources since the start of the rainy season in November. The worms have destroyed crops for 250,000 farming families. Farmers say government-issued pesticides are inadequate and ineffective, forcing some to turn to traditional methods to combat the pests. Lamek Masina has more from Mulanje District, Malawi.
26-year-old Malawian farmer Teresa Manuel is among farmers worst affected by an invasion of 4 armyworms. The mother of 3 normally harvests over 40 bags of maize from her 2-acre garden, but this season she is expecting almost nothing.
My entire maize field has been attacked by the armyworms and I have nothing now.
Armyworms are an invasive pest from the Americas that has devastated crops in Africa since 2016. They feed on cereal crops like maize, a staple food in Malawi. Malawi authorities estimate that since November, the worms have destroyed crops for over 250,000 farming families.
That means another hunger now. We are going to face hunger in this area. There are a lot of villages which have been affected, as I have said, and it means hunger now. So we need government's intervention.
Malawi's Minister of Agriculture blames weather patterns for the armyworm invasion. The ministry is distributing free pesticides to affected farmers, but they are getting complaints that they are useless.
The
problem is that most farmers apply the pesticides when the worms are already grown. As a result, the worms don't die because they're old enough to resist the pesticides.
Farmers like Manuel are resorting to homemade remedies to ward off the pests.
As farmers, we're using our own traditional methods, like applying soil, soup from small fish, leaves from the neem tree, and powdered soap.
But Malawian farmers say they need more help to recover from the pests' damage.
Since government appreciates that the invasion is huge, what we want is that it would consider providing us with seeds, or they should give us food that will take us to the next growing season.
Malawi authorities say they will soon distribute seeds to affected farmers. An armyworm invasion in 2017 forced Malawi to declare 20 of the country's 28 districts as disaster areas. Lamek Masina for VOA News, Mulanje, Malawi.
Here in the U.S., the Democratic majority U.S. House of Representatives passed a resolution Thursday that called for limitations on President Donald Trump's ability to pursue a conflict with Iran without consulting Congress. VOA's congressional correspondent Catherine Gibson has the details from Capitol Hill.
New details from the president justifying his order of the airstrike that killed Soleimani.
We did it because they were looking to blow up our embassy. We also did it for other reasons that were very obvious. Somebody died. One of our military people died. People were badly wounded just a week before, and we did it.
But classified briefings on the intelligence that led to Soleimani's death left Democrats with more questions than answers about the administration's claim of an imminent threat.
This administration hasn't given us any reason to believe that this is a fact. The foreign policy of this administration has undermined American leadership, cut our diplomats off at the knees, alienated our allies, and walked away from our obligations. We've lurched from crisis to crisis.
Well, regional tensions appear to have eased following Iran's ballistic missiles attack on an Iraqi base holding U.S. personnel. Democrats said a vote limiting Trump's ability to escalate the conflict was necessary.
If the president wants to use military force against Iran, he has to come to Congress. Any president has to come to Congress. We're not making rules only for this president. We're making rules for the president, any president, vis-a-vis Congress's constitutional powers.
For decades, both Democratic and Republican White Houses have clashed with Congress over the ability to declare war.
What President Trump has done here is to push the envelope just a bit farther by, in essence, saying he tweeted, "This is my compliance with the War Powers Act." And of course, that tweet does not actually comply with the mandates of the War Powers Act. So the president has been probably more dismissive of Congress's authority here than even past presidents have been.
Republicans argue the vote does not impact Trump's war powers.
Resolution before the House is non-binding. It does not have the force of law.
They also say it sends a dangerous message internationally and that Trump was acting within his rights as president.
Instead of supporting the president, unfortunately, my Democrat colleagues are dividing Americans at a critical time, weakening our leverage overseas and emboldening our enemy, the largest state sponsor of terror in the world.
The Senate is set to vote on a similar resolution next week, but the vote primarily works as a way to open debate.
This is an opportunity here for the lawmakers and for the two chambers to go on record, to send a message about what they think.
Democrats say a more likely deterrent would be to withhold funding if Trump pursues a conflict.
And now is the time for us to once again come together and make certain that the president will not have one penny to spend on a war in Iran unless there is congressional authorization.
A threat lawmakers have attempted before, for U.S. involvements in Afghanistan and Iraq, but to little success. Catherine Gibson, VOA News, Capitol Hill.
We'll be right back.
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. South Korean automaker Hyundai unveiled its electric flying car concept at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, announcing it will partner with ride-hailing company Uber to jointly develop electric taxis. Hyundai's aircraft is designed to fly on trips of up to 100 kilometers and has a cruising speed of up to 290 kilometers per hour. As part of the aerial ride-sharing partnership, Hyundai will produce and deploy the flying cars, and Uber will provide airspace support services and customer interfaces, the company said in a news release. Uber is pledged to begin demonstrator urban flights in 2020 and commercial operations in 2023 as part of its project. Next up, the latest in toilet tech has been on show this week at CES as toilet paper delivering robots and non-stick pans caught the eye of visitors. The two-wheeled Charmin Rollbot stands at roughly 20 centimeters tall and uses gyro balancing technology similar to a Segway to carry a roll of paper. Japan's toilet company Toto is also back at CES with its newest toilet, the Washlet Plus wall-hung toilet. It's designed to keep the bowl cleaner than ever. A sensor can tell when a user approaches, spraying a mist over the bowl to make the porcelain slippery. After flushing, Washlet Plus sprays E-Water Plus, an electrolyzed water which it is claimed helps clean the bowl. Meanwhile, tech companies are competing for new screen technology. Samsung revealed a 292-inch television, calling it the Wall. Then there's the Zero, Samsung's latest gizmo, a TV designed for the mobile generation. The screen automatically flips from a standard widescreen TV into vertical portrait mode as you rotate your phone. Then there's the world's first foldable Windows machine. Lenovo pioneered the ThinkPad X1, a desktop computer, laptop, and a tablet all in one. Chinese technology company Royale also turned heads, unveiling its A-Mold, ultra-thin, flexible screen that can be attached to everything from handbags and top hats to a smart speaker. And that's what's trending today.
The Niger Defense Ministry says it is poised to launch a new military offensive against Islamist militants following an attack Thursday on an army base near the Malian border that killed at least 25 soldiers. The decision comes on the heels of a raid by Islamic State terrorists on a military outpost in December that killed 71 soldiers. That attack was the deadliest assault on Nigerian forces in many years and underscores the declining security conditions across West Africa's Sahel region. Building a technology startup company is no easy task, especially in countries with less established tech industries. But many global entrepreneurs are determined to succeed, and the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas is their chance to prove themselves to the rest of the industry. VOA's Tina Trin met with startup founders from Senegal, Ukraine, and Thailand.
Eureka Park is part of the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, where more than 1,200 exhibitors and tech startups from around the world come to show off their products. The usual suspects are out in full force, but there are also some unexpected contenders for rising tech star, like in Thailand, where it appears necessity is the mother of invention.
Our friends come together and we want to work in a robot company. We cannot find one in Thailand. And we quite young that time, so we just set up our own company.
Mahisong Wangpati and his partners build security robots, along with drones that collect and analyze agricultural data. It's their first time at CES.
Actually, I am quite a nerd that, just into the engineering things. And when you become CEO, then you have to talk business. And that is something really challenging for engineers to pretend to do that. CES will be a good stage for us to learn more about selling things.
It's also a chance to showcase the country's tech talent, something that surprised Pachara Kanchesi, who returned to his homeland after stints in New York and Chicago.
I believe that we have a lot of talented people, like engineer, designer, or anyone in Thailand is really smart, but we don't have enough financial support.
Mahamadou Lamine Kebe traveled from Senegal in search of funding for Tolbi, part of a system of connected sensors that help farmers track water usage.
My uncle is an African farmer, and he wastes 50 to 80% of his water irrigation due to the lack of knowledge and control over the water need, and this costs money.
Lamine Kebe is at CES to find partners that can help further develop Tobi's sensors. Fellow Senegalese founder Diko Si says CES is the place to be to get in front of potential investors.
It's a big fair, the biggest fair of innovation and technologies in the world, where we have the opportunity to meet the biggest companies in the field of innovation and technology.
Over at the Ukraine stand, Anastasia Romanova is showing off her smart, eco-friendly mosquito control system.
These opportunities are really important to give the voice for Ukrainian technologies.
There is a bit of a lack right now of a systematic support, like, for example, a lack of accelerators in Ukraine.
Which is why industry exposure is key for these fledgling companies. Andriy Konovalenko says CES visitors have provided invaluable feedback for CamTouch, a device that lets users turn any surface into an interactive one.
They also give us new ideas how we can use our technology we built to make new products and reach new markets.
We are really pleased and grateful to be here today to represent Ukraine. It's a huge step for us and it's a great responsibility, and we are ready to rock it.
True to its name, the opportunities for discovery at Eureka Park are many. Tina Trin, VOA News, Las Vegas.
It's time for Entertainment Report and Music Time in Africa. Host Heather Maxwell has the scoop for today's Song of the Week. Let's watch.
Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Maxwell, and I'm with...
Big Mike Hove.
Yeah! Today's Song of the Week is Mugaden
by Winky D
and Gemma Griffiths.
Let's go.
Woo! Hit it!
Chema, Chema.
Man, Big Mike is like all over this song.
That's my jam. That's my jam.
Well, I hear this was the 2019 jam in Zimbabwe.
It was the song of the year in 2018. Everywhere, whatever race, whatever age, everybody was on this song.
Big Mike, why do you think people love this song so much?
It was such a beautiful song. It was so unifying. People of two different races, people of two different backgrounds coming together talking about love.
Yeah.
The video itself was just so amazing because that's how I saw he was such a great artist, because his video literally matches everything that he's talking about in the song, to the point that you can actually understand and imagine what he's talking about.
Well, let's
so it was
listen to
beautiful.
a little bit more. I like the white snake.
Snakes.
Big Mike, you're a singer. I didn't know that. So tell me, what are they actually singing about? I mean, we know it's the story of Adam and Eve. The snake is there. The apple is there. They bite it. But what I notice is they still seem happy before and after. So what are they saying?
So basically what he's trying to do is, the whole song itself is talking about love. He's talking about how he's saying we don't need these things that people seem to place value on in life. When you are, well, clothes are certainly important, but small things like, you know, the whole blesser thing, you need a car, you don't need those things when it comes to love.
And what is she saying?
So she's saying that, I won't run away from you. No matter what, I'm here to fight it with you.
Isn't that so
It's a really beautiful love song.
Oh, let's listen to some more.
Turn up!
I have a question, and maybe some others of you want to also know, and that is his new album. Winky D's got a brand new album. So what do you think of it?
I listened to it. It's really artistic. Let's put it that way. I loved it. I've got a couple of favorites myself. Really
Winky D really likes biblical stories. We see it in Mugarden, and we are seeing it in his new album. That was Mugarden, Song of the Week by Winky D.
The Gaffa featuring Gemma Griffiths.
Yeah, from Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe itself.
And this is Heather Maxwell.
Not Mike Hove.
Mike, that was Song of the Week.
Thank you, Heather. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.